All right, we have some breaking news in the Jeffrey Epstein case that we wanted to update you with. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein stood accused of horrific crimes against young girls and was found hung in his jail cell. Well, this is according to the New York Times. Headline is Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy points to homicide, not suicide. Pathologist claims. A forensic pathologist hired by Epstein's brother claimed on Wednesday that evidence suggested he did not die by suicide, but may have been strangled.
Yeah, and I want to. We should be clear here. Of course, this pathologist is being paid by the Epstein family.
Yep.
He could have motivations in ruling a certain way. However, this pathologist is actually quite famous. He was appearing on the Fox News channel this morning, and he was talking about Dr. Michael Baden. Now, Dr. Michael Baden said that in the 50 years that he has basically reviewed forensically pathologized people who have hung themselves, he has not seen injuries consistent with this case. Now, of course, actually, if we'll all remember the way that particular bones broke in Epstein's neck afterwards were being reviewed by many people, and it just adds another layer of mystery and mystique as to how this happened. How was Jeffrey Epstein allowed to kill himself in one of the world's most secure facilities? This is the place that El Chapo was being held, okay? Like the billionaire drug dealer couldn't get out of this place. And somehow Jeffrey Epstein is able to hang himself with no surveillance. Of course, Attorney General Bill Barr came out afterwards and ordered an investigation into the MCC as to how all of this was allowed to occur.
The cameras didn't work.
Right, and then
the guards were asleep.
Security guards, and there was all this.
He had been on suicide watch before, so it's not like this was he should have been under watch based on the guidelines, and yet this was able to happen.
And of course, why is this significant? Well, it's because Epstein was allowed for decades, ultimately, to move amongst the richest and most powerful people in our society while allegedly molesting, raping young girls.
Yeah,
that is what was account. Trafficking them across the world, bringing them to his private island, shuttling them in between New York and Miami. Him and his handlers, his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, recruited and exploited dozens, if not hundreds, we don't know the ultimate number, of young women. How was this all allowed for so long to the point where people joked about it? Right. People in the media used to joke about Jeffrey Epstein.
Had a sweetheart deal with prosecutors in Florida, where he was able to have work release. He served like a pathetic amount of time, but he had work release where he could just go and hang out at his office. I mean, it was a total slap on the wrist. Not to mention, they really undercut the rights of the alleged victims in the case as well. They didn't notify them that this deal had been cut. So I think you're exactly right. This was someone who was able to run in the most powerful elite circles that there are in this country and really around the world. And now, because he is dead, his victims will never really see justice.
And so I do want to
emphasize, important to get to the bottom of what exactly happened here.
I do want to emphasize the New York City Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, who previously ruled Mr. Epstein's death as a suicide, is strongly disputing this claim. It remains up in the air, but I think that the finding itself is legitimate and it's worthy of discussion.
Another piece of information here. We'll stay on it, and we'll have more Rising for you next.